Okay, is everyone here now? Lydia, have you joined?
Yes, I'm here, sir.
Okay, awesome. Okay, so usually in order for us to have a neater code, after each pipe operator, I usually press enter so that the next line of code is on the next line. So I'm going to press enter after this pipe operator here. So that brings down my rename on the next line. You can see now it's looking a bit neater. And then because I wanted to view it, I put another pipe operator here. And then I press enter and then I write view. Okay, so if I run this code, control enter, we can see the new, you can see the place where we had, do you consent to participate in this study? Initially, it has now changed to consent. You can see that. So that's how to rename a variable. So you can actually do that on most of your variable names, especially the ones that have long sentences. For example, this one where we have age as at last birthday in years, we could just change it to age and just make it as simple as that. So if we go back to our code, we can do the same thing. First of all, we tell R what data set we're working in, which is cap phase2 underscore clean. And then we put in our pipe operator to say, and then go to the next line and say rename. So the new code, so the new name we want to use is age. And age will be equal to, the old name is age as at last birthday in years. So click that. And then I would say pipe operator and view. So if I click this, I run this command by pressing Control Enter, you can see the place where we had age, something that was long before, it has just now changed to age. So that makes your variable names shorter and neater, so that when you're analyzing, it's more straightforward than having long variable names like that. Okay. So let's go back here. So this is how to rename variable names. Rename is a function used to change the names of variables. Rename. Okay, so we have looked at the clean names function, and now we've looked at the rename function. Now, another function we can use is recode. Recode, that's this function. So while rename is used, while rename is used to work on variable names, recode is used to work on observations or values. For example, if you look at this data set, where are you now? Cap phase2 underscore 3. Now, how do you say? Rename works on the variable names. That's these tick ones on the first row. Recode works on the values in each row. So that's one difference between rename and recode. One works on variable names, the other one works on the values. Okay, so if you look at this data set, you know, we had changed this age as at last birthday in years to age. But as I clicked it down, it's still saying age as at last year. So which means it has reverted back to the former name that it had. And the reason why that happened is there are two ways to run commands in R. One way is you just run the command to see a result, which is what we've done. The second way is you run the command and ask R to save it so that what the work you have done is saved. And you do that by assigning whatever command you run to an object. So, for example, this first code that we run here, sorry, this one, this cap phase2 underscore clean, that we run this clean names code. Why we have it saved is because we assigned this code to an object, which is this cap underscore phase2 underscore clean. But you can see in these other two codes that we ran, there's no assignment operator. We didn't assign anything. So when we run it, R just gives us the result. But after that, it doesn't store it. But if we need to store the information, we need to assign it to something so that R knows that, okay, I'm storing this. So for example, in this code, what I should have done was to say cap underscore phase2 underscore clean, and then I will assign it such that when we run the code, R is going to assign it back to this object, that's this cap phase2 underscore clean, and save it inside it. So if I rerun this code now again, Control Enter, now R has changed that thing, that do you want to consent? It has changed it to consent, and it has now stored it so that if I go to use to check this this data set again, it is already stored. It will not revert back to the former name. And then if we still go back, if we go back and run this second code, the one of renaming the age as at last birthday, and we also assign it, so cap underscore phase2 underscore clean, and then we assign it. So if I run this code, Control Enter, no application method for name. Oh, what did we do? Sorry, let's remove this. Let's run it again. Control Enter. What's the problem? Let's do it again. Phase2 underscore clean, and then we assign you and say cap phase2 underscore clean, and then put in our pipe operator, and then go to the next line and say rename, and then age equal to age. Why is not showing underscore? Something is wrong somewhere. Something is wrong. Uh-oh. Something is wrong somewhere. Sorry. Some mistake happened. I don't know what it is, but let's.
I think it's the recoding.
The recode. Okay, let me just start afresh. So let's view this. Okay, good. And then we assign, we do the cleanings. Yes, I run this. So this is back, we clean this. Okay, so it's here.
Okay.
Okay.
And we rename.
Yeah, we now rename. So, but this time around, I'm going to assign. So this, and then I assign it. So I'll still tell R the data set we're working on, and then put in a pipe operator, and then we rename consent equal to do you. Okay, so we select it, and then so let me just run this code. Control enter. Or alternatively, instead of running them individually, we can actually run the renames together. Let's say we want to change like 2 or 3 names. So after this, I just put in a comma, and then I press enter to come to the next line. So the first line is to change the one of consent, and then let's do the one of age. Equal to age as a last birthday. So this. So I'm renaming 2 different variables now. This first one and the second one. So if we run Control Enter, if I run Control Enter here, so the R has saved whatever we've changed here in this object, which is cap underscore phase2 underscore clean. So if I look at it here, which is this cap underscore phase2 underscore, if I click it, and then I look at the variables that has been worked on, you can see consent has changed. And then if I go to age, see age 2 has been changed, and they've been stored in R. So this is how I will be viewing the data sets now. So that's how to rename variables. So you can do that. This is a very large data set. It has over 188 variable names. So it's sometimes data cleaning can take quite some time. But at this stage, you will not need to be working with this large volume of data sets. So maybe you're working with maybe 10 to 15 variables like that, and to rename 10 to 15 variables will not be so demanding. It's just like doing 10 of these lines together, and then run them in a single code, and then it will just change all the variable names that you want to change, and then give you a neater table. Okay, so we've seen rename. Like I said, the next thing I wanted us to see is recode. So let me just write here. Number 2, we saw rename. Now notice that if you're applying functions, there's always a bracket open and close that follows that function. So whatever object you want to apply the function A on will be inside that bracket. So that's how functions are. So number 3, we will look at recode function. So recode works doesn't work separately like rename. Recode works it works together with another function we call mutate. So let's look at the data set we've done, or let's work on another data set. Let's use Star Wars. Star Wars is a data set in R. So yesterday I mentioned that there are data sets in R that you have access to. So if I do data set, how do you do that again? Data sets. I'm trying to remember how to get those data sets again. View data sets. So, but there are a couple of data sets that R has that you have access to. One of them is Star Wars. If I click Control Enter, if you look at the console, it gives us the data set called Star Wars. So you don't have to import these data sets. They are already in R for you, and you can play around with them at any time. I would, if I remember how to list all of them, I would tell us. But Star Wars is one of them. So if we view Star Wars, let's view it. Control Enter. So this is the Star Wars data set. It has variables: name, height, mass, hair color, skin color, eye color, etc, etc, etc. So let's assume eye color, for example. If you look at eye color, it has blue, yellow, red, yellow, brown, blue, etc, etc. So let's assume in the data entry staff that were entering this data, they made a mistake. Instead of writing gold, they wrote yellow. What we wanted them to impute was gold. And then so we want to correct this error that they made by changing the yellow to gold. So you will use the recode variable, because like I said earlier, recode works on values, on observations, while rename works on variable names. So how do we do that? I want to change this yellow to gold, so that anywhere there's yellow in this eye color column, it will change it to gold. So let's go back to our script. So how do we do that? First of all, you tell R the data set you're working in, which is Star Wars, and then it's in your pipe operator. And then what you want to do is to recode those values. So I said recode works with another function we call mutate. So you say mutate, bracket open, and mutate is a function which does one of two things. It either creates a new variable, or it writes over an existing variable. I'll explain what I just said in a minute, but just follow me. So we say mutate. The variable we're working on is eye color. So which R has already told me here, eye color, and then we say equal to. Now this is where the recode function comes in. So recode. Now, when we were doing rename, we said you tell R the new name first, and then equal to the old name. However, in recode is the other way around. You tell R the old name first before the new name. So the old name working that we want to change, but first of all, we need to tell recode what variable we want to work in, which is eye color. I press enter, and then comma. We say yellow, so we need to put that in inverted commas. Now, this is one of the places where you use inverted commas. When you're dealing with values, observations, you use inverted commas. You will notice that when we're doing variable names, we didn't use inverted commas. But when you're dealing with observations, which are values, you usually use your inverted commas. So yellow is the old name, is equal to gold, which is the new name. So what we've told R here is we want you to recode anywhere in eye color column where you see yellow, change it to gold. But like I said, recode does not work on its own. It needs the support of mutate, which is another function. And now mutate, like I said, it's either changes changes the variable, or writes over an existing variable. So you will see what I mean now when we run this code. First of all, look at the console. See the eye color variable that was there before, right? You see the first color is blue, the second color is gold. So once we run this code now, this second color that is yellow here that I'm highlighting will change to gold, because that's the instruction we're giving R to do here. So if I run this code, Control Enter, if you look at the console, this is the eye color. The first color was blue. The second color was yellow initially, but now it has changed to gold. So anywhere where there was yellow in this column will change to gold. You can see another one here, gold. So if you look down, anywhere where there's yellow, change to gold. Okay. Now, but the same column is still existing, the same eye color column. And that's because in the initial place where we wrote mutate, we use the same eye color variable name. However, if we wanted to retain the old column with the yellow and then create another column that will have the gold, what we would have done here is to change this variable name here. So let's assume we change it to, let's say, _2, for example, so that it has a different name from eye color. So this is eye color _2. So if I run this other code, Control Enter, if you look at the console, now this eye color, which is the initial one, it still has the yellow in it. But then what R does is at the end of this data set, it now puts in a new variable called eye color 2, in which it has changed the yellow to gold. If I zoom into the second quadrant by clicking Control-Shift-2, or it still didn't give us the whole. No, let's view it so that you can appreciate what I'm saying. So I'll just put a pipe operator at the end of this, and I'll say view. Sorry. So Control Enter. So okay, now so it's giving us the Star Wars in a tabular form. So this is the eye color, the original one that was there. It still has yellow, but at the end of this data set, R will put the new column that you have said, which is eye color _2, in which it has changed, or it has carried out the instruction you gave. So the yellow has been changed to gold here. Yellow has been changed to gold here. So that's what I talked about mutate. Mutate can either write over an existing variable, in which case it will write over, let's say, this eye color here. It will just retain the eye color name, but it will change the variable, this yellow, to gold. It either does this, or it would retain the existing one, and then it will create a new variable at the end. What it does depends on the information you give it at this stage. So if in this place we say mutate and we just put eye color, which is the existing variable, it will write over this existing variable, and then within the eye color it will just change the yellow to gold. But if we give it a new name, if we give it a new variable name, for example, saying eye color _2 or eye color new, whatever we just want, it would retain the former eye color that was there, but at the end of the data set, it will now create a new column in which it will carry out this instruction of yellow to gold that you have given it. Does everyone follow what I have explained so far? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Dr. Doga, do you follow what I've explained?
Yes, I'm following.
Okay. Lydia, how about you?
That is the I color 2 now is a specific one that is overwritten when the command is given. Oh,
yes. The I color 2 is like you're asking R, keep the old variable or keep it so that I can still compare. Keep the old one, which is I color, but create a new one. But you need to give that new one a new name that is different from the old one.
Okay.
You understand? So I will leave the old one, which is I color, with the yellow that was in it. At the end of the variable of the data set, it will create now this new one that you have written, and then carry out the instruction that you have asked it to do.
All right.
Yeah. So Lydia, have you followed what we've said? Is Lydia here? Well, Lydia is out. Nate, did you follow what we're saying?
Yes, if you notice that we're having small challenge with network, but I'm following.
Okay. Well, Lydia is no longer with us. Okay, it's fine. Let's move ahead. So we've looked at how to recode what's it called now? Recode values. So just like we did in rename, you can also recode many things together. So if I wanted to, let's look at the data sets Star Wars. Let's assume I also wanted to recode change red to reddish. For example, this red, we want to change it to reddish. What we just need to do is at the end of this one, this ends in 10 minutes. Okay, just know that you can do multiple at the same time. Let's move on so that we can move a bit faster. Okay, so another function we can use in cleaning and manipulation, excuse me, is what we call select or select. So select basically selects just like rename and recode. There are two functions that work on variables and observations. Select and filter. Select works on variable names. Filter works on observations. The same way as the rename works on variable names and recode works on observations. So let's see what select does. So you can use select to just, let's say you want to select, you have like in this data set I have, which is Cap, Fish or Star Wars, maybe I have up to like 17 variables. But at a particular point in time, I only want to work on maybe 4 variables. Select helps me just select those variables that I want to work with in that immediate time. So if you look at the Star Wars data set, let's view Star Wars, view Star Wars, and click Control Enter. So you can see in this information, it says it has 14 data columns. So let's assume among all these columns, I just want to work with name, height, hair color, and maybe gender. So I can just, let's go back to a script. So I can just come and tell R the data set first, Star Wars. Then you put in your pipe operator, go to the next line and say select. And then within select, you tell R the variables you want to work with. So I want to work with name, comma, gender, comma, height, comma, and hair color. So if I click Control Enter here, you look at the console. So R has just selected the 4 variables I've asked it to do, which is name, gender, height, and hair color. So that's just how to use select variable to work. You can also use figures to select. If you look at the Star Wars data set, where is it now? So each variable has a number. So name is variable number 1, height is number 2, mass number 3, hair color number 4. So instead of using the variable names, you can use numbers to select your variable. So if I want to select these first 4 variables, for example, name, height, mass, and hair color, I can just ask R to select 1, 2, 3, and 4. So that will just be tell R the data set I'm working in, Star Wars, put in my pipe operator, and I say select. See 1, 2, 3, 4. If I press Control Enter, if you look at the console, it has selected the first 4 variables, which are name, height, mass, and hair color. So that's another way of how to use select. Instead of, if let's say you have like 10 or 6 numbers, for example, and you don't want to write 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, you can simply say Star Wars, put in your pipe operator and say select. And then instead of writing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, you can just write 1:6. And R understands this to mean 1 to 6. So if I click Control Enter here, if you look at the console, R has selected the first 6 variables: name, height, mass, hair color, skin color, eye color. So those are the first 6 variables. So that's another way to use select. Sometimes you can just maybe there's some variables you want to remove from the data set. So let's look at the data set again so you can understand what I mean. Star Wars. Okay, so let's assume I don't want to see this name. So I want to see every other thing except name. So what I can tell R is Star Wars, and then I click in my pipe operator and I say select. But this time I'll just put a minus sign and I write names. So what I'm telling R here is select every variable except name, So that's why I put this minus sign in name. So it will just remove name and then put every other thing. So if we run Control Enter here and you look at the console, you see name was usually the first variable, but name is no longer there. It now starts with height. So that's another way to use select. So let's look at filter. Like I say, select is used to work on variable names, while filter works on observations. So let's look at filter. So let's assume, let's look at the data set Star Wars, so I can tell you what I want to do. So let's assume I want to filter only this eye color now, this eye color. I want to filter only the observations that have yellow eye color. I just want to see only the yellow eye colors. So what we will do, we will tell R, this data set we're working on, which is Star Wars, put in a pipe operator, comes to the next line and say filter. We tell R the variable in which we want this filter to occur, and then we put a comma and say, filter, we put 2 equal sign and put the name of the variable of the color. So what this code is telling R is within the Star Wars dataset, I want you to filter anywhere where eye color is equal to yellow. I want to say it. Anywhere where eye color is equal to yellow, I want to say it. If you observe, we're using two equal sign here, and it's something that we use in our filter function. We don't only use one. If you use one equal sign, it will not work. It's two equal sign, because it's like you're actually asking a question. Where eye color is equal to yellow, I want it to be filtered. So if we run this command and say Control Enter, you can see in the console, eye color has only rows where we have yellow as the eye color. So every other color has been removed except the ones that are yellow. So that's one way to use filter. Now we're going to introduce. Okay, so this session will end in the next 1 minute. So I will stop here. I want to take any questions we have under 1 minute, then we'll log into the last session. So can we take any question you have? Any questions?
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead, Abubakar.
So this mutate function,
Yes.
yes, it has to go with the record function, right? You cannot write one without the other.
No, the mutate works with several other functions.
Okay.
Mutate work with several other functions, where it's just because we're dealing with recode here. But mutate work
Okay.
with several other functions, which we will see as we keep going on.
Okay.
Yeah. Any other questions?